So I know these kind of layers of my own onion. There's the family layer, there's the cultural layer, there's the societal layer of what it means to be a woman right now. There's all of these layers that we can start to peel back and understand I have those layers, and so does that person.
Hello. Today, my guest is Amanda Goetz. Her brand new book, Toxic Grit, is out today. She's been featured by Entrepreneur, Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, Forbes, and more. And she reaches over 150,000 people worldwide with her best tips on pursuing success without losing your sanity. Amanda used to be, or she sold a company called House of Wise. She was a founder, and prior to that, she was a CMO. She worked at The Knot and other incredible brands. She is a really smart marketer. She is a single mom of 3. She's an incredible athlete. She is fun. She is smart. And today we're talking about how to heal from hustle culture without losing your edge, without losing your ambition. I think so often these conversations around making money in softer ways or more flow, more ease, less hustle can leave a taste in our mouths like, but does that mean I have to give up my ambition? Does that mean I have to give up my edge? And the answer, as you'll hear in this conversation, is absolutely not. But there are ways to do it where you can, of course, work smarter, not harder, and get what you want without sacrificing the things that matter. As you know, if you've read my book, Do Less, this is a conversation that is near and dear to my heart, and I'm so excited for you to meet Amanda. Welcome to Plenty. I'm your host, Kate Northrup, and together we are going on a journey to help you have an incredible relationship with money, time, and energy, and to have abundance on every possible level. Every week, we're going to dive in with experts and insights to help you unlock a life of plenty. Let's go fill our cups.
Please note that the opinions and perspectives of the guests on the Plenty podcast are not necessarily reflective of the opinions and perspectives of Kate Northrup or anyone who works within the Kate Northrup brand.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing.
Thanks for being here, Amanda. I love this. I don't know if you know this, but somehow I became aware of you. I literally have no idea how I started following you on Instagram, but it was when I moved to Miami in 2021 and you you moved to Miami in 2021.
Yeah.
Oh, what month?
August.
Okay.
Yeah, right before school started.
Okay.
And got down here, got settled, got the kids ready. So
got at it.
Yeah. And I feel like everybody that was moving here at that time was looking for other people who were moving here. Yeah. So
it was an interesting time. Yeah. A lot of us came at that time. So yeah. And at the time you were doing your business, growing your business, House of Wise.
Many things.
And of course, I didn't know you. You and I have only met in person quite recently. Yeah. So from what you were doing online, I was like, damn, this girl has a lot of capacity. I was like, with the kids and the business, and she's exercising. And I was and she's so hot. I was like, wow. So my first question.
Hilarious.
Isn't that funny?
I'm going to cry laughing this whole podcast. I know it.
So I'm curious. Now it is 4 years later. Yeah. 4 years later, you, as of today, have published your first book, Toxic Grit. And I would love to know that version of you that I came across on the internet in probably second half of 2021. Yeah. What would you tell her now?
So in 2021, just to kind of put it into context.
Yeah, given that I knew this much about you, tiny, tiny sliver.
So I filed for divorce in 2018. Mm-hmm. I had just had my third baby. So I had 3 kids under the age of 4. Divorce took about 2.5, 3 years. So 2020, I was one of those people that woke up January 1st, 2020, and I was like, this is my year. I'm going to get my life back. I'm not going to be the woman going through a divorce. And at that time, I was leading marketing at The Knot. So I had a team of 50 people. I felt like I was at the height of my career. And then everything kind of came crashing down. And when I started to feel like I was rebuilding in 2020, the world felt like it was ending. And so fast forward to 2021, that was the first moment of freedom that I experienced in years. I got married when I was engaged at 19.
Yeah.
Married at
I
21.
read that in your book and I was like, oh, wow, that's young.
Yeah.
How old is your oldest now?
11.
Yeah. So can you imagine in 8 years?
I can't.
What?
I can't.
Yeah, so young. But
they've signed like invisible contracts with me that they're not getting married till they're 30.
30.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I was like, at least until you've made a conscious choice of who you are and what you want. But that moment, 2021, was like my ability to spread my wings and see who the fuck I was.
Yeah.
And part of that was through House of Wise. And it's funny because looking back, what I would tell her is that was a stepping stone, not the end. But when you're building a business, that feels like everything.
Yep.
And when we grew really fast, but we also raised VC capital.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to keep growing really fast, and then we couldn't sustain it. And so then we sold. And at that time, I had another just horrible crash again, because I was like, oh, my entire identity was wrapped up in this business. It's like, oh, this is who I am. I'm a founder. And then when that came crashing down, I was like, well, I don't know who I am again.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of just, and I talk about this a lot in the book, of the cycles of life. And that's actually part of it, is just continuing to re-meet yourself and the different parts of yourself. Yeah. And I kept trying to merge them all and say, okay, I'm a founder. It's like, okay, that was one part of me, but I put everything into that basket.
Yeah.
So now I think you're meeting me now at this time where I have neatly placed these roles in their own compartments so that I can see that I'm not all just one thing. I'm not all mom. I'm not all partner, because I'm now getting married again. I'm not all founder. I'm all of these things, but in their own containers.
So you talk about these 10 characters that we have, which I love that concept. I've been, a long time in therapy with internal family systems therapy, parts work. So huge fan. Also, I have a theater background. So I'm like, yes.
Right, exactly.
We are all playing our roles.
We are.
Yeah, it's a very helpful, our mutual friend Liz, which is how I met you. I interviewed her once and she talked about, and it was when we had like really young kids, and she was doing her business, Learn to Make a Product. And she talked about how the way she was making everything work was to know that she could be an A in one area, but it was like totally fine to be a B+ or like even a C in other areas, and not have this ridiculous idea that we're going to be all in with all of our roles at the same time. So I love your concept to give us permission to, like, you don't have to be like the straight A student in all of them. You don't have to be the all-star athlete and the magna cum laude or summa, whatever. I don't remember which one, which right. It really doesn't matter, but like, and the, top founder and the whatever. But I am curious. So you mentioned just now compartmentalization, and I want to know, is there an example or a time in your life right now as you're, the truth is this episode comes out on Pub Day, but we're recording it obviously far in advance. So you are getting ready. You're in preparation phase for launching a book. How are some of those roles that you play informing each other and actually helping to bolster one another right now?
So 2 things. One, the idea that you can't have all the characters in the spotlight. Like, imagine watching a show and all like main characters were constantly trying to progress forward at the same time, right? So this idea, it's chaotic.
Yeah. And ultimately like actually boring. When I think about watching a show like that, if all 10 were all there all at the same time, it's like boring and not enough depth.
And the flip side of that, which is what I fear happens to many women, is one or two characters takes over the entire plot line. That's also boring.
Yeah, you're right.
Because you need those other characters to infuse the levity and the fun. So we have that cast of characters inside of ourselves. And for me, gearing up for a season where I know that my work character, or I call it the CEO character, but the person that really, the version of me that cares about achievement and my goals and financial success. So funny because she doesn't play well with like kids. Right? Like when I'm in work mode and my kids try to come in, I realize, and that was a big part of separating these things because whenever I tried to merge the two, I'm like snapping at them. I'm not focusing. Yeah. But gearing up for a time in my life, it's about awareness of which character is going to take some more spotlight. The second part is creating boundaries. Where are you allowing other characters to come in? And then communicating with the people around you. How long is this going to be a priority?
Totally.
And then having that checkpoint. So I know December 1st, when I'm through, I go on the book tour, December 1st, I have a checkpoint and I'm going to reprioritize. And for the next 4 weeks, kids, family is everything. We're going on a big trip. We're so excited. And they all know that. And they also are in the fold because I've communicated to them why this is important for me. And I say like the definition of toxic grit is hustle without intention. We created these kind of binary pendulums, I think, for women that are really exhausting, right? Like there was you and I were just talking about like kind of the girl boss era, right? Where it was like, okay, the path to being an inspiring woman is to build companies and break glass ceilings, et cetera, lean in. Well, a lot of women burnt out. So then we swung the pendulum over here and it's like, well, no, be completely in your feminine, be a trad wife, be this. For most people.
But also grow a killer following while you do
But
it.
also look amazing and make the perfect like sourdough, whatever. But most of us live in the middle of that. And so how do we stop creating these like binary pendulum swings? It's hustle with intention. Why is this important to you? Why does this build towards the next goal? And communicate that to people so that they're a part of that decision, not just, oh, well, society is telling me to go do this thing, so I go do it.
How old is your youngest?
7.
So you have a 7, a what, and 11?
7, 9, 11.
7, 9. Okay. And I have a 7, 9. I just don't have the 11-year-old. So I'm thinking about as you say this. So my mom came out with her first book when I was 11.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was, I was so proud of her, but I was also 11 and I was like, why do you work all the time? And I just want to say, like, I love the way you're communicating with your children. I'm assuming with your fiance as well. Like, okay, this is going to be all in for this period of time. And then there's a date at which we will reorganize and you'll get more of me back for this role. I think that's also really helpful as a business owner because when we publish books, it can be this open-ended loop of forever of like, now I'm supposed to be hustling to sell this thing for the rest of my life. And it can feel this pressure of like, oh, it did well in the first week, so now I have to do more.
Pouring.
Like I was texting a girlfriend of mine and she was like, she became a bestseller. And she was like, I'm feeling all this pressure. Now everyone's telling me I have to keep at it and do more and do more. And I was like, girl, that thing's going to keep selling itself. Like just lie down. So I love that you have a stop date. That's so smart. How did you decide what the date was? Not stop like you're not going to sell your book anymore. But I understand. Like the season will then shift.
So I have a story and then I'll answer that question. So the story, when I was a single mom with 3 young kids, I was leading marketing for a big team and I had to leave every day at 4 p.m. because my kids, when they're that little, they go to bed at like 6:30.
Totally. You have no time after school.
No.
Or daycare or
and
whatever.
so I needed to get home, relieve the nanny so that I could do bath and get them fed and then it's like 7 and everybody's asleep. So I knew that if I needed to look at emails, I could do that at 7:30, whatever. At my performance review, I remember talking to someone. It was not my direct boss, but somebody else. And they were like, well, you're hitting all your goals, but you leave at 4 every day. I was like, yeah. Well, just what would happen if you stayed till 6? Think about how much more you would do. And it's this elusive enough that we're constantly facing that, my capacity does not equal my capability and like what I actually want to do. Capacity does not equal like alignment in what you're going for at the macro level. So for me, I know that I do want to write books, and this is a big part of that. It's a big journey into this next step. And I want to have a great relationship, and I want to be a present mom. And so figuring out what those, I call it a spin cycle, because when you use a washing machine, like the spin cycle alleviates all the heaviness. What does a spin cycle look for you to recheck in with yourself to say, okay, I just pushed for a little bit with this character, whether that's your mom character or caregiver character or your explorer character, you've been traveling a lot, run a spin cycle. You've been pushing really hard with one character. Allow yourself to kind of alleviate the intensity from that character, good or bad, like whatever it is, and say, what does the next season look like? Yeah. And for some people during that spin cycle, they may say, I'm ready to keep going.
Yeah.
And so for me, December is a time for me to check in, say, wow, is this filling me up? Is this giving me energy? To what extent? And also, what am I sacrificing to get that? So I think it's really important to have check-ins with yourself to say, is this still in alignment? And to give yourself permission to let another character come in and say, I'm good right now.
Or to go for a second season.
Yeah.
Right. If that's appropriate. And
Exactly.
and I think it's the we have such a tendency to just keep going without ever pulling our head up.
Yeah.
To look around and be like, oh, wait, let me reassess. So I think that's so smart. I would imagine, you talked about boundary setting. You talked about this person at your performance review being like, imagine what would happen if you stayed until 6, which, by the way, their comment was completely non-data backed, because actually what we see is that there is a completely diminishing rate of return if you stay longer and sit at your computer.
100%.
There is not at all an increase in productivity. It actually decreases. So and probably those extra 2 hours would have started eating away at your results for the previous hours as well. That's another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But I would imagine along the way, you're a successful woman, you are good looking, you are articulate, right? Like and you have been through a lot, and I know that, and I only know a very small percentage. However, I would imagine that people project on you and get annoyed when you say no or set a boundary or whatever, whether it's around a work thing, whether it's a personal thing, whether it's the moms at drop off, whether it's your family, I don't really know you, but I'm imagining this happen.
Check.
And I know that the avoidance of the discomfort of those projections and people feeling some kind of way about the way we've chosen to live their lives and us not being the way they expect us or not being the way that's comfortable for them, the avoidance of that discomfort keeps so many women from going after what they want and keeps them playing a role that ultimately doesn't even belong in their cast of characters. Like it's not even them to begin with. Yeah. How do you deal with projection, with people being disappointed in you, random strangers on the internet, your mother, whoever?
All of that. Yeah. So the first thing, I've done a ton of work, right? Like, so doing a lot of the internal work to know what script of your movie was given to you versus written by you, right? And so I'm very aware of what is my stuff, what is my programming that was given to me because of my upbringing. I grew up in a first generation college, like I was the first person to go to college in my family. I grew up very poor. And so there's a lot of programming that was handed to me of like, oh, wealthy people mean X, right? And so I know these kind of layers of my own onion. There's the family layer, there's the cultural layer, there's the societal layer of what it means to be a woman right now. There's all of these layers that we can start to peel back and understand I have those layers, and so does that person. So I can look at that and hold that that's not actually mine and put a little bubble around myself and say, that's their layers that they're working through.
Yeah.
And that's not for me to take on. The second piece of that is, and I know we were talking about this a little bit, I've met with a hypnotherapist and I did this like crazy 5-hour session realizing how early we make decisions about ourselves. Like from the time, one of my memories that I was like, how do I have this memory, was when I was in the hospital as a baby.
Wow.
At a subconscious level. And I'm sure people are going to be like, this sounds so woo-woo.
Not
But
my people.
I had a vision because my mom, I was an emergency C-section and then she ended up getting sepsis and almost died. And I didn't see my mom for 7 days.
Wow.
I never connected that with anything of my adult life. In this hypnotherapy session, I saw myself in the little, room with all the nurses walking around and I felt alone.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I made a decision then that I need to make sure that people didn't leave me.
Wow.
And so in this session, she had me make a different decision. Like, it's not my job to be perfect so people will stay. And it's really freeing to realize that when you can go back and kind of make a different decision for yourself, how you operate in a very different reframe, because that's not your like default decision.
Right.
I'm scared that if I don't respond to my friend immediately, I'm going to lose them as a friend.
Yeah.
If I stop looking at that situation that way and say, that's not my responsibility. I'm prioritizing this right now. I will get to that in a little bit. And if I lose them as a friend, they weren't meant to be in my life and supporting me. So I think realizing that there are some decisions we made about ourselves that we can choose now as adults to take the different decision.
What's so powerful about what you're saying is that according to our subconscious and our psyche and our nervous system, all time is now. Our bodies have no sense of time.
Right.
And that's why the power of visualization works, right? For Olympic athletes and, all this stuff. It also works with this because we actually can rewire ourselves so that that decision literally now was different.
Yeah.
Like it's not just, oh, that was a cool exercise and now I feel better. Like now you're different.
Yeah.
Because all time is now according to your psyche, which is what's so powerful about therapies like hypnotherapy. I love that so much.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And so when I feel projection or anything, I can say like, this is not my job to earn their love or attention. It's not my job.
So before we came on today, my team sent a little email with a correction to you, and you had responded very graciously and said, no worries, like this is a sign that you guys are focused on the right things. And I know that one of your topics that you're so good at is around energy management and focusing on the right things to get the result that we're actually after. So how do you help people who are overwhelmed with, you and I both know, when you're running a business, there is literally an infinite number of things you could put your attention on.
Yeah.
Possibilities for growth, this opportunity, that collaboration, like blah, blah. And I hear from people all the time, like, I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. Yeah. How do you help people cut through that quagmire and focus on the right things?
Yeah. So I'll give the most simple answer and then I'll kind of work backwards. So I talk about my to-do list, like the number to-do list. Every day I look at the different characters that I've placed as important for that day. And I say, what are 2 things that I can move forward that would meaningfully develop that character's storyline, plotline, whatever. So for today, for work, I needed to work on a deck that would meaningfully move something forward. And I needed to put together a project plan. 2 meaningful things. Okay, I focused and finished those 2 things in about an hour and a half. Yeah. Because when you actually know what you're focused on, you remove distractions, you can actually hit flow state pretty quickly, right? So I separate Parking lot versus priorities. My parking lot's massive. I've got like a 10-story parking lot, and it is full at capacity. But every day I look at that parking lot and say, well, what's giving me energy? What do I feel like is like on a level of like impact and effort? Where is that falling in the quadrants? And say, well, okay, I'll work on this one. And I put that literally on a Post-it note in front of me. Yeah. When I get those two things done, I get the satisfaction of throwing in the trash can. But the same thing goes for being a parent, being a partner. If I can do two things well, intentionally well as a parent in the day, if that means I'm going to sit and be super intentional at dinner time, and I'm going to give each kid a 30-minute tuck-in, like I do like the little rotation, right? If I can do that well, but I was shuffling around in the morning, right? Like it's, okay, I did two things well and that's enough. And I think the word enough keeps coming back over and over again of, you've said that these were the priorities for today. That's as much as you can do so that you can develop a couple of characters. And we as highly ambitious women, we think that I have to, like you said, an A+ in everything. Well, it's okay if those two things like is an A and a C. Like if I can't go get a full workout in and I just go and I'm like, all right, I'm going to walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes and scroll TikTok because that's like what I need right now. Okay, that's fine. But just figuring out what are the biggest things that will have the most impact, saying that's enough, and then moving on to the next role that you play. That's, to me, when I coach people and talk to people, I'll look at their day and they're context switching like a crazy person, just like they're doing emails and then they jump to a little bit of a project, then they jump over here. If you studies have shown that context switching is horrible.
I know, but we're so addicted to it.
We're so addicted to it. So people are looking for this complex answer, but the answer is very simple. Focus and finish. If I could be really great during our conversation and then shut off work mode and then go straight to dinner with friends, they get all of me as a friend and you get all of me in this conversation. But if I was multitasking and like trying to text them before, it's like that doesn't work. No. You have to give yourself the space to be fully present. And I think this is where guilt comes from. Trying to be multiple versions of ourselves at one time. Like I said, my work mode and mom mode and partner mode, none of those really mesh well together. If I want to be intimate or feel sensual, I can't see my kids.
Right.
And I can't see emails. And so allowing myself to say, what does compartmentalization look like? How can I focus and finish and give my all to this version of myself is actually the way that I can move things forward more effectively.
Yeah. Okay, so we're having like a really great left brain conversation right now, which I so appreciate because I live for like the logistics of, I will say I'm not naturally actually that good at this sort of thing that you're talking about, even though I did write a book about it, but because I've had to learn the hard way. I'm going to ask you another question, but wait, before we do that, I have one more question about the logistics. In the parking lot, the 10-story garage, every day when you're pulling out your to-do list, which I love, obviously you're not going through every car on all 10 stories. So higher level, like, do you have some kind of system or way that you're holding? Well, so it's the characters, right? So you kind of know the priorities for the season or whatever, for the week, for the month. Like, is it intuitive? How do you pull out those two things?
Yeah, there's a whole chapter on this. But at a highest level, you first have to know what are you moving towards? What's your why? Like, where are you going in this season? So like right now, okay, book tour is the season, right? So now I can prioritize like certain things over other things. Like, and I've communicated that to my friends. I won't see you till December. See you later, right? Like, and they know that, and they're there to support me because I've communicated that. Now, when you look every week at your parking lot, you have to understand and I worked with tons of engineers. So I work in 2-week sprints, right? It's like, what is the big project I'm focused on for 2 weeks at a time? And usually at work, you can start to say like, okay, if I actually did, let's take a very simple example. Say you wanted to relaunch your website. What I would do with somebody if I was coaching them, I'd say, we're going to Kit Kat this. We're going to break it down. Okay. You want a new website. Well, that means you have to write copy for that website. You have to maybe take pictures for that website. You need to determine where the buttons are going. And maybe that leads to you have to create a new asset. You break it down. So this big thing that was maybe you're in your parking lot, like new website, actually gets broken down into 10 or so things that you've Kit-Katted. And then you say, well, that's my sprint for 2 weeks. And then I literally—
One of the Kit Kats.
All like, yeah. So landing page, like
I
new
love
website.
Minutia questions.
I know.
I'm like, wait.
So landing page
Yeah.
is your sprint for 2 weeks.
Got it.
And then you've Kit-Katted it
Perfect.
into 10 different parts.
Yeah.
I would put those all on Post-it notes. And then every day,
You just take
2.
one.
And so imagine something that feels like, oh, a new website, that's going to take me months. If you broke it down and you actually focused and finished, you'd have it done in 10 days.
So are you largely in your work life working on one thing at a time?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
give or take. Like the one thing right now is book launch.
Yep.
Right. So it's a big thing.
Yeah.
But then this one thing has these smaller pieces. And then what about like all the other things? Well, obviously they're contributing, right? Like your social media contributes, your newsletter contributes. So all the rowers are rowing in the same direction.
Yeah,
as it were.
And so I think about offense versus defense time. Offense is I have the ball, I'm moving it forward, I'm moving towards a goal. Defense is other people need me, I need to be in meetings, I need to be on social, I need to respond to Slack, all of that. I have to separate those two because offense time is deep work time. I got to create. I have to think. Defense, I need to respond, right? So I make sure that 2 hours a day are just offense.
Yeah.
I am fully focused on the 2 Post-it notes in front of me and I get those things done.
Yeah.
And I know you talk a lot about this, like being in tune with your body and knowing when you can hit that focused time. I know for me, morning
Same.
focus, get that work done. And then 12 to 3 is my meeting time.
Yeah.
If people need me, that's why and then I have 2 pockets for email admin time. And then everything else is delegated.
And then like the kids come home and that's
Yeah.
that.
I have to be done with work at 3
Yeah.
because kids get out of school and then they have to be taken to everything. And so I have to be done at 3.
Yeah.
And I also need to make sure I have time for a movement in my day. So yeah, offense versus defense was a big unlock for me to say, I have the parking lot. I'm going to break those things into little smaller things that are achievable in a 1 to 2 hour time block. I focus and finish on those. And then I move on to all of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But that's moving the big thing forward that we tend to look at a to-do list and we look at the easiest thing to do. And then you don't ever have meaningful time to move the big project forward. So flip it on its head, do the big project first, and then everything else kind of fits in.
Yeah. And it really does. For anyone who's listening, feeling like, how does she get it all done before 3 o'clock and move her body and only have meetings from 12 to 3 and, you know, and. Quite frankly, when you devote your best hours of the day to the most important thing, everything else pretty much works out, or you realize it wasn't that important and it can be canceled, rescheduled, delegated to somebody else, but it becomes obvious because the big thing is the big thing is the big thing, and then it's done, and then you're like, oh, great, so that's done now.
The significance trap is real.
Yeah.
Is something actually as important as you deem it to be?
Right.
And I always like use the 10-10-10 framework. Like, will this matter in 10 minutes? Will this matter in 10 hours? Will this matter in 10 days? Like your friend texting you their crazy date story or whatever, they'll be fine in 10 hours. Like I can respond, right? Your kid needing to be picked up from the school because they're sick, that's you got it. So it's just a significance expectation and radar to say, is this actually as important as I'm making it? And to your point, like a lot of things, there's a lot of cars in my parking lot that are really dusty.
Yeah.
because I actually realized they're not as important and meaningful to moving everything else forward.
Totally. We used to have a president of our company who kept a little like vintage tea kettle on her desk. And when I would give her an idea, because I'm like an idea machine.
Yeah, you're a starter.
You know, oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
finishing things is literally so hard for me, which is why I married my husband. He is just so good at taking it across the finish line.
Yeah.
But she would in meetings with me, she did not tell me this until like a year after we were working together.
Wait, I'm so excited
She
to
would
hear
take
this.
down my idea and she would be like, absolutely. And she would write it down and like, you know, just really meet me where I was. And then she would put it in the tea kettle, the little thing on her desk. And then she would only ever pull it out again if I mentioned it again at another time, because I'm the queen of like getting all my energy around something new and then getting it going. And then, well, I used to be. I've really broken that habit.
But the world needs starters and the world needs finishers.
Yes.
Like finishers can't create a ton of ideas. And so for me, every quarter I'll look at, I'll look at all of the ideas that I've had and I'll pick one or two and say, those are the ones I'm going to spend my time on, like launching a newsletter or a course or whatever it is. You're allowed to have all those ideas. You just have to a vehicle to put them in, a tea kettle.
Or whatever. Okay, so I want to know a little bit more about your newsletter. It's funny, you know, I've been in this industry for a long time. And in 2009, I started a newsletter. I've been
amazing.
Writing it ever since. And
That's
then like,
wild.
It's great. And then everybody like somewhere along the way turned to social media. And I was like, I mean, not that I wasn't there, but I was like, hi, just like email us. And then it's so funny because many of my friends in the industry who've been around for a long time are like launching newsletters, which is the greatest idea ever. I completely agree. And I think I've never taken mine seriously enough. So maybe whatever. Anyway, but I'm curious for you, you know, for people listening, like looking at what's working now, trends, whatever, as you looked at the whole landscape of the coaching world, personal development, authors, thought leaders, you know, whatever, what had you decide you were going to double down on a newsletter?
First and foremost, it was about developing the skill of writing.
Oh, great.
And I believe in truly loving the process of something, not the outcome, right? Like if you're going to start something, you have to do it. Don't just say like, I want to run a marathon. It's like, no, I want this time to go learn.
To run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn to love to write. I've always loved writing. I've been a marketer my whole career and I'm always like, I'll write the copy. Like I'll do that. It's fine. I'll write the emails. And this was the newsletter came from me wanting to see if a book was in my future.
Got it.
Right? Like if that was maybe the end goal, can I write 800 to 1,000 words and sit down and do that? And how did that feel? Did that give me energy? And it did. I loved it. And so that's when I knew that I wanted to go down the book route. And I had grown to over 100,000 followers on Twitter at the time because I love writing. That was the platform that I, back in the day, used. And I got hacked and lost full access. It was horrible.
Whoa.
Whole other story of like these people in Europe were scamming people from money. And because I'm like very vulnerable online, it was like people thought it was me and it was so bad. And so it was this double-edged sword of I knew that I needed to have greater control over my audience. And I wanted to love the skill of writing. And so that was newsletter opened up everything for me. Now I had been building a personal brand, but obviously on a platform that now I can't swing a cat and get a tweet to go viral. Like so that's the issue with algorithms and picking and going all in on a platform.
Totally.
So now I'm like starting over. I'm like, oh, okay, Instagram, I'm there now. That used to just be like my kids eating broccoli. And now it's like, okay, here's all my thoughts. But you can have more control and agency when you have an email list, as you know. And so it's so powerful.
I love that. And what are you doing? What are some of your best tips for making your newsletters readable, relevant, and something that people look forward to and open and engage with, because a lot of people are like, no one reads emails. And I'm like, no. There are several newsletters or just, emails, even if the person doesn't call it a newsletter, that I would say I open and read 80% of them.
Yeah.
Because even if I don't know the person, I have built a relationship with them. So
Parasocial,
I'm curious compared to social, which is more like blah, 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 whatever even is happening over there. What are you doing to infuse yours with that energy?
There's a couple of different formats of newsletters, right? There's I'm going to go be kind of a flashlight and shine a light on all these other topics, et cetera.
Yep.
I chose to be more of what I call a porch light. Like, I'm going to be with you. I'm learning with you, and I'm going to share a story of something I learned and then turn it into a tactical exercise or takeaway for you to say, if this is something you also feel like you're walking through, here's some steps that helped me. Yeah. And the authenticity of feeling like you are the third type of creator. There's porch lights bringing people in. There's flashlights looking at other people. And then there's, what do you call it? A boat that looks, the lighthouse.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's that word? I'll get there. I felt like I was playing charades. The thing, the boat.
It's nautical.
Right. There's an anchor. So a lighthouse, those are the people who you're like, I don't know if I'll ever get there. They're so aspirational.
Yeah.
I've chosen the porch light. It's like, come in, let's do this together. I'm not perfect. I share all of my things, like all the lessons I'm learning. I don't pretend to know it all, but I'm growing with you. Yeah. And I think that has led to it growing the fastest because there's a lot of guru type stuff out there that I think people are starting to have an allergic reaction.
Yeah, it's annoying.
To. Yeah, it's like there are no 10 simple steps to do anything.
So
There's
true.
just not. And so I'm not going to pretend that there are, but I'm going to give you some frameworks or some new ways to look at it that helps me think about it differently.
Yeah, it's realistic, it's human, but it's also really a smart way of looking at life. Because if we change the way that we're relating to things, our results do shift.
Yeah.
And, you sit around in this industry long enough and you realize no one knows what they're doing anyway. And so why pretend like it on the internet?
No, I know. It's so funny. I mean, you've been in the creator world and been around a lot of people. Every time I put somebody on a pedestal and then I eventually meet that person and I'm like, oh, they also don't know. Okay,
right.
Cool.
I know, but
it's
I
so
think
freeing.
It's like just part of our humanity to constantly be like, oh, wait, maybe them, maybe. And then you're like, oh, no, just once again. However, that doesn't mean we can't be aspirational and learn from people and 100%. Be like, you do actually seem to really know what you're doing in this one arena. And I really do want to listen to everything you have to say on that topic.
Yeah.
I'm like that. Like I go so deep with someone.
Same.
And I'm just like, I don't need to take marriage advice from someone who's been divorced, 10 times. Yep. But in one area, I'm like, I'll learn how to grow my email list from you all day long.
Exactly.
Okay. So hard left.
A lot of car analogies.
I was going to go here before, but I wanted to ask more logistical questions. One of the things, so you talked about in your book that you realized either as you were getting divorced or after, I don't know the timeline, that you were bisexual. And one of the things you've talked about a lot, a lot, but you are definitely someone who is a sensually expressed woman in public. And I would love to hear more about how your relationship with your body, your sexuality, and your sensuality inform, if at all, anything about your business. And if not, you can just be like, they don't. But
it's so interesting because I compartmentalize them because that's how I view it. Okay, so like I said, I got engaged so young. I was in college, never had, and I grew up very religious, Catholic. And so I didn't really, and I'm from a very small rural town. So I had no even template of what it looked like to explore your sexuality. Then I find myself, in my 30s, divorced, running a sexual health and wellness company and
which was House of Weiss.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so for folks who don't know, what was the company?
The company was giving women permission to take control of their sleep, sex, stress, and strength through 4 different product verticals. Yeah. And they were originally formulated gummies.
They were great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And they worked.
Yeah.
So at that time, it was, like I said, my identity in House of Wise was really
I
connected.
see. Yes. It was very much part of the brand.
Yeah,
Okay. That makes
because
sense.
I was exploring my
Yeah.
sexuality at that time and started to date women and had a girlfriend for a while. And it was interesting because I learned so much about myself through that exploration. And I have to say, learning that you're bisexual later in life after dating men your whole life, and then also choosing and falling in love and marrying a man also this is still like a layered thing for me of like taking up space in this conversation because
Yeah,
there's a part
totally.
of it that feels like, am I truly like valid in taking up space? But I loved both men and women.
Yeah.
And it's been a beautiful part of my journey that allowed me to continue to realize that I can break boxes.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it was a reminder that what was given to me, any of these scripts that were told, like, oh, I was an athlete my whole life. I have a very, like, I know you talk a lot in masculine, feminine energies. I present very feminine. I'm a very masculine energied person.
Yeah.
And that, I think, allowing myself to see what that felt like in different relationship dynamics was so freeing. Because in most heteronormative relationships, I suppressed my masculine to be in my feminine for my partner.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what led me to be with someone who I can actually be both. I can embody both in different times.
Yeah.
And it's why I'm so happy with Dan, my person, because allowing myself to explore that part of me led me to find somebody that allowed me to exist in both of those multitudes.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that when we have the courage to break out of a box in one area of our life, which you obviously did in your divorce, and then becoming a founder after having a corporate job, and then, around sexuality, and then whatever, right? I'm sure there's lots of other examples.
Yeah.
It does get, it builds, you're probably aware of this, it builds something called self-efficacy, where then we can call upon that in completely different contexts. So while it may not be that one area is directly impacting, it's like that we are who we are in all the different roles. Like, and you're going to bring those skill sets laterally.
For sure.
You can't not.
Right. Allowing one character to express themselves and push boundaries builds that muscle that the other characters have. So now I can push boundaries in my business because I know that anytime I've pushed a boundary, I grow and expand.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's really beautiful when you can allow yourself to do that in one area and watch it happen in the others, for sure.
This may seem like a very obvious question, or I don't know, but I want to know, like, why did you write this book?
There's a story that I tell in the book that this book has kind of been percolating for years since my divorce. And House of Wise was actually the book in like CPG wrapped form, right? It's giving yourself permission to be in multitudes. And we say that, but how? It's like, how do I have an active sex life and be a present mom and work? It's like, how? Tell me how. But so there's the story I tell in the book where I was at work all day. I raced home, let the nanny go. I'm putting the kids in the bathtub and I'm getting the kids ready for bed. And I get them down and the 2 are in their cribs and I'm rocking the baby and breastfeeding the baby. And I'm just like sweat dripping down my boobs, like all of it, because at that point I'm a single mom. And I took out my phone and I wrote the words, "You can have it all." And I just stared at it, and it just wasn't clicking for me. And then I realized that the thing that was not clicking was the you, because the mom inside of me doesn't care about going to work. She wanted to just stay home and rock the babies. The person I am at work doesn't want to leave at 4.
Yeah.
And like the party girl inside of me doesn't want to be ruining my boobs, like breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Like there's these different yous inside of you. And that was the aha moment for me to start to allow myself to give space for the fact that I have these competing versions of myself. Yeah. And so House of Wise then was this evolution of that to say, give yourself permission to experience pleasure. Like, what does that look like? What do you need? Do you need space? Do you need a routine? And so this book is just a continuing evolution of something that has helped me so much realize that alignment is really hard to do when you don't create separation.
So great. I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy you came.
Thank you.
Thanks
This
for
was
being
amazing.
here. So where should people get the book? Where should they connect with you?
Yeah, you can go to toxicgrit.com.
Okay, great.
And you can so I have a free workbook, a bonus chapter. So if you buy the book, you can get all of those things at toxicgrit.com.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Plenty. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review. That's one of the best ways that you can ensure to spread the abundance of plenty with others. You can even text it to a friend and tell them to listen in. And if you want even more support to expand your abundance, head over to katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs, where you can grab my free money breakthrough guide that details the biggest money breakthroughs from some of the top earning women I know, plus a mini lesson accompanying it with my own biggest money breakthroughs and a nervous system healing tool for you to expand your abundance. Again, that's over at katenorthrup.com/breakthroughs. See you next time.